Yeah, so what I've argued in my work is that, the Australian legal regime is a non-consensual one. So what I mean by that is it's imposed, it usurps the space of Indigenous law and sovereignty. So it doesn't matter if you pose, like you're posing the wrong question, and the posing of that wrong question is also messing up what reality is that we need to be looking at, which is that our legal system is a key mechanism for colonizing. And that's how it is built and that is how it is maintained. Like, as your next course will show, Yannick, like in terms of policing and all of the other arms of the state, like all the criminal justice system, but also other arms of the state that are connected to that as well. Um, I call that sort of non-consensual basis, like nomicide, so that the law itself is a mechanism of death production, like both in terms of trying to kill off Indigenous law as being able to self-determine,
Mm.
um, but also creating actual death worlds, like of people and environment. So it's kind of this comprehensive, like, system where, this kind of righteousness can be maintained, that it is about law and justice and rights and, being progressive, but in fact quite the opposite is happening. So law which requires consent between people for something to be so-called lawful itself is premised on a power dynamic that is quite the opposite of consent. So, like the imposition, the colonial imposition and the usurpation of what has come before it.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that actually connects to the other reading as well. So we'll go into that when we can. But also part of what I was writing, in the manuscript for the other book was about how the law is, yeah, a tool of settler power, and that it kind of looks at the already the settler invasion created a certain type of dynamic of power, that it just kept on expanding and repeating. And then the law came after the fact and framed it and said, hey, yeah, this is how things are. And we built laws that were useful to maintain those same interests, those same white supremacist interests. So that's why you have, okay, well, the slave can't do this or the black, like these are not things that come from the objective and just mind of some Greek god somewhere. These come from, okay, well, we have a plantation here and we want to make sure that the indigenous people stop raiding our camps. So we're going to make laws that are fences that keep these dynamics in the same way. So there is this type of pretension that the law is something other than a covering up after the effect of an established order of white supremacist power. And then it just has a way of articulating that in flowery language or with these performances of rituals and wigs and gavels and all these type of things that basically ensure that the arrangement of white supremacist power remains in place and can be defended from people who can now rely on rationality and history and tradition. When it really is just like we took this land and we're doing these things, and now can somebody write a book about it? Um, that's kind of what the law ends up being.
Well,
But then,
you
and now I
know,
defend people like, okay, well, no, this is against the rule of law. What is the rule of law? What are you talking about? You just were lynching people, and now you made a law that says, okay, well, maybe it's okay to lynch people.
I was gonna say, like, just the idea of inclusion to me is dangerous. Like, I think about like integration with like in the civil rights movement and like how little Black kids ranging like elementary level are being boot camped for racism.
Mhm.
And like even tying that to my own personal experience, I went to like a predominantly white high school, and I know that I was put in that school because it was better according to like, my parents, my Black bourgeoisie parents. And they're the Black liberals. They want this like me to be seen as equal to these people that I'm in school with, but this is the first time I'm being called the N-word. This is the first time I'm learning that racism is still very much alive because of this inclusion. So you go into these spaces and you may go in saying like, oh, they're going to come out and now we have like this equality. But I would argue that it's just like you said earlier about how it's like a technique to destroy Black thought and how apartheid was deployed in schools and the universities to destroy Black thought. Would inclusion not be deployed in that same way? Is that not our like equal, like us seeing that kind of mentality, that kind of mindset in the States, in the Americas, when we had that inclusion, when we have this push to allow Black students in these white spaces because we don't have enough where we are. Like I wrote a paper about it when I was an undergrad. When I was in the elementary education department, they were asking like, should we should we integrate? Like, and I was saying whoever even asked to be there, who even wanted to go there, you know, if the communities had what they needed, it wouldn't be, I want to be where you are. I just want to make sure that I have books that I can actually read, you know, and like even just tying back to what I was saying in the beginning. So like you do all this just to get a book to read. And the whole time you're fearful of reading it because of imposter syndrome or just plain outright racism, bullying, harassment, just to be in the space. So it's like I think it's amazing that Black people can be in a space surrounded by white people in that integration state and like an educational space and leave feeling like I'm better than the Black people that I left in the hood, instead of being like, man, these motherfuckers are evil.